Hello guys, this is CMA Paramesh. Today we are going to deal with the subject paper number 8 in CMA Inter Group 1 cost accounting. This cost accounting paper comprises of 100 marks. This cost accounting paper is for 100 marks. Under this 100 marks, the pattern, let us discuss what is the overview of the subject. Let us discuss first. Cost accounting paper number 8 is for 100 marks. It is classified into two sections. One is MCQ, another one is practical plus theory. This 100 marks comprises of MCQ and practical plus theory. MCQ, if you observe, will be for 30 marks. In the recent examination pattern, we can see December 2023 or June 2024 examinations, we can see the pattern is 30 marks MCQ questions completely. In the previous examination patterns, we used to have true or false or otherwise fill in the blanks, match the following, these kind of things used to be there. But now completely, they are giving completely MCQ questions. That is also 15 questions. Each question carries 2 marks. 15 questions into 2 marks. There is no choice. You have to select options either A, B, C or D. Whether explanation is mandatory, sir, for this MCQ questions. The answer is generally in the given guidance, there is no guidance such that we have to explain. Compulsory we should explain explanatory notes for MCQ questions. Generally if you took option A, B, C, D is fine. But for few practical questions we have to do working notes and then we have to select the option either A or B or C or D. Coming to the practical plus theory. This practical questions plus theory, it will keeps on changing. The pattern is not fixed, it will be keep on changing. Generally they will give 7 questions. Generally they will give 7 questions. Out of that you have to attempt 5 questions. Out of 7 questions you have to attempt 5 questions. Coming to the subject pattern, it is divided into 3 sections. One is section A, another one is section B, another one is section C. Section A comprises of 40% weightage, section B comprises of 30% weightage and section C comprises of 30% weightage. So total 100%, 40 plus 30 plus 30. So it is classified into 3 sections. So before starting the cost accounting subject, you might have studied this cost accounting like introduction to cost accounting, cost sheet, technical terms in cost accounting in CMA foundation level. In the CMA foundation level, you will be studying only the few areas of introductory part of cost accounting subject. Here there are 2 terms in this cost accounting. One is cost, another one is accounting. We know accounting is not a new thing today which we are doing. Accounting is existed since a longer period of time. Under these branches of accounting, we are having mainly how many branches? We can see 3 branches. How many branches are there? 3 branches. What are those branches? One is we are seeing financial, one we are seeing cost, another one is management. One is financial, one is cost, another one is management accounting. Under this accounting, there are 3 branches. Under this cost accounting is 1 branch which we are studying. So what does a cost accounting deals with? Why we have to study this subject separately? What is the need for cost accounting? What is the need for cost accounting? What is the need for cost accountant? Why a cost accountant is required in organization? Whether a cost accountant is required in each and every organization, these kind of basic doubts will be existed in the minds of students. First of all, why we have to study this cost accounting? Why we are not studying this cost accounting subject from the 11th standard itself? After 10th, when we are entering into the 11th standard, you can see while studying in the 11th standard, we will be studying accounts. That is nothing but financial accounts. Nowhere we will study cost accounts. In the 12th standard also, we will study financial accounts. In the foundation level also, we will study financial accounts. Why we are not studying cost accounting? What is the reason behind that? It's very simple. Logic is Financial accounting is required, and financial accountant is required by each and every organization, whether it is a small scale, whether it's a large scale or small size or medium size. Each and every organization requires a financial accountant. But whereas coming into the cost accountant is not required by each and every organization. Cost accountant is required only for the organizations who are involving in manufacturing activities. Only for those organizations a cost accountant is required. A financial accountant is required either it's a manufacturing or a non-manufacturing entity. In both the cases, compulsory financial accountant is required, but a cost accountant is required in the case of manufacturing organizations. So what does a cost accountant will do? Where is the need for a cost accountant? A simple example we can take for understanding purpose. Suppose if I ask you a question, purchase of goods for cash. What is this journal entry means? Everyone can answer within a split of seconds. Purchases account debit to cash account. When we are purchasing the goods on cash, if I am asking a journal entry within a split of seconds, everyone can answer. That is nothing but what? Purchases account debit to cash account on the basis of golden accounting rules. Either it's a traditional or modern, personal, real, nominal. Based on that golden accounting rules, you are able to frame a journal entry. But coming into the cost accounting, in the case of cost accounting, if I'm asking a question, if a situation arises, a cost accountant cannot take an instant decisions. A cost accountant cannot take an instant decision. For those decisions, compulsory, a cost accountant has to apply his brain. Compulsory has to apply his knowledge, apply his skills for making a decision. How, sir? Simple example I will take you. Before starting the cost accounting subject, I am trying to make you understand why a cost accounting subject is required, why we have to study this subject separately. I am trying to create a situation to understand. That's all. Okay, now. So in the case of financial accounting, we discussed just now. If I am asking a journal entry, everyone can do. In the case of financial accounting, what the accountant will do? First, he will record a journal entry. Second, he will post them into the ledger accounts. Third, he will prepare trial balance. If the trial balance is tallied, then he will prepare the final accounts like trading, P&L, balance sheet, and further whatever it is required. But in the case of cost accounting, to make a decision by a cost accountant, or to take a decision, what does a cost accountant has to apply here? I will take you a small example to understand this. Let's see here. Suppose, let us assume one machinery. This machinery is having a capacity of producing. This machinery is having a capacity to produce 1 lakh units. Okay, now, if the machinery is operating at 100% capacity, that machinery is having a capacity to produce 1 lakh units here. Okay, there is a XYZ company. This XYZ company is dealing with 4 types of products: product A, product B, product C, product D. XYZ company is dealing with 4 types of products. One is product A, product B, product C, product D. Let us assume. Okay, now product A is nothing but Santur soap. Product B is nothing but Lux soap. Product C is nothing but Dettol. Product D is nothing but Dove soap. Okay, now. So this XYZ company is nothing but they are dealing with 4 products A, B, C, D. One is Santur, one is Lux, one is Dettol, another one is Dove. So okay na? And the machinery capacity is how much? 1 lakh units maximum. 1 lakh units maximum they can produce. Maximum 1 lakh units they can produce. If you see the demand for the products, Santur soap is having a demand of 80,000 soaps in the market. Santur soap is having how many soaps in the market? Demand is for 80,000 soaps. Lux soap is having 30,000. Dettol is having 40,000. Dove is having 20,000. So there is a one machinery in a company. By using this machinery, maximum how many units we can produce? 1 lakh units we can produce. So XYZ company is dealing with how many types of soap? 4 types of soaps. One is Santur, one is Lux, one is Dettol, one is Dove. The demand, market demand is like this. Santur is having 80, Lux 30, Dettol 40, Dove 20. That is nothing but how much is the total demand? 1,70,000. 1,70,000. Total demand is 1,70,000. But maximum how much do we have the capacity? The maximum capacity we can produce here is only 1 lakh. Now we have to make a decision here. Being a cost accountant, we have to make a decision. What kind of decision? Out of 1,70,000, we can maximum select 1 lakh only. Then which soap we should select? Santura, Luxa, Dettol, Dova. Which soap we should select? Which soap we should sacrifice? Which soap we should select and we should sell in the market, and which soap we should sacrifice? For making such decisions, cost accountant is required. How we can make a decision, sir? Simple. See here. Suppose selling price. Selling price for Santur soap is 100, let us assume. Lux is 140. Dettol is 160. Dove is 200. Selling price are like this: 100, 140, 160, 200. Cost. Here it is 60, here it is 70, here it is 80, here it is 100. This is the cost for manufacturing these soaps. Okay na? Selling price is given, cost is also given in the question. Then how can we make a decision? It's very simple. Any business organization, what is the major motive? What is the main motive? To provide a service to the organization or to earn a profit. Earning profit is the main motive or main objective of each and every business organization. Each and every business organization, what is the main motive? The main motive will be the earning profits. So basically, which soap is giving highest profit, the priority will be that. The soaps which will give the highest profit, that will be the first priority. If you see here, selling price minus cost, the resultant figure is what? Profit. What is the profit here? 40 rupees. What is the profit here? 70 rupees. What is the profit here? 80 rupees. What is the profit here? 100 rupees. So obviously the priority, the first priority to whom we will give, the first priority will be given to the Dove soap. Second priority, Dettol soap. Third priority, Lux soap. Fourth priority, Santur soap. First will be the Dove, second will be the Dettol, third will be the Lux, fourth will be the Santur. So this is how we will make a decision in costing. So in the case of financial accounting, immediately you can give an answer. Instantly you can give an answer. Why? Because financial accounting is purely dependent on two things. One is accounting rules, another one is accounting concepts. One is accounting rules, another one is accounting concepts. Whereas in the case of cost accounting, a cost accounting is nothing but there are various things which is involved in a cost accounting. Not only decision making is a one part of cost accounting, not to complete 100%. Decision making is not complete 100%. A decision making is a 20 or 30% role will be there in cost accounting. For understanding why we have to study cost accounting, I am trying to give one example. In the cost accounting, if you are creating one situation, a person cannot give answer immediately. Compulsory he has to think. He has to think and later he has to give his answer. First he has to think and later he has to give his answer. Then only the cost accounting will work. A cost accounting is a subject dynamic in nature. keeps on changing. How, sir? Simple example I will try to give. Suppose if you are taking an example of this, a digital pen. Suppose the cost of this pen, which is manufactured by Samsung, is 4,000 rupees. Let us assume the cost of this pen is how much? 4,000 rupees. Let us assume this is manufactured by Samsung company, 4,000 rupees. Immediately our copycat China will be seeing in the market. So once this pen is released in the market, it is clicked, everyone is using this pen, it is having a deadly demand in the market. Then immediately what China will do? China will do using some material, they will use some material, they will use some technique. Immediately they will release this pen for 200 rupees in the market. Immediately they will release into the market for how much? 200 rupees into the market. That is nothing but, see how a situation has changed. It's a challenging situation for a cost accountant, how we should reduce the cost, of our pen. China has released same pen, same model, looking everything same. In the outside market also you will be seeing Apple Watch, right? Apple Watches or Apple phones or otherwise small Apple AirPods, these kind of things will be seeing. Apple AirPods will cost around 70,000, 80,000 rupees. But if you are seeing in the outside market, same AirPods will get for 400 rupees also. Everything will be same. Everything will be the same. We cannot even identify which one is original, which one is duplicate. In such a way, a cost accountant job is also dynamic in nature. If you are trying to reduce the cost by maximum usage of techniques and methods, tomorrow there will be one new situation which will arise against us. Then we have to again rethink, we have to think different techniques, we have to use different methods, how we have to reduce our fixed cost, how to reduce the variable cost, how to reduce the cost of a product. Why? Because generally a cost accountant role, not only decision making, apart from decision making, here there are many things. To decide a selling price of a product, will be fixed by a cost accountant. A chartered accountant cannot fix a selling price of a product. To calculate what is the cost incurred for manufacturing this pen, this also needs to be calculated by a cost and management accountant only. A chartered accountant will nowhere involve in calculation of cost of a product. So in this cost accounting subject, we will study the techniques of costing. We will study methods of costing. We will study what are the elements of cost. Because in the case of financial accounting, cost will not be classified into further. But in the case of cost accounting, a cost will be further classified into depth. In-depth classification we will study here cost. All those things we will be studying in upcoming classes in cost accounting subject. So this is the main important role and responsibilities of a cost accountant. That is the reason there is a need for cost accounting is a separate branch. That is the reason cost accounting has evolved due to there are certain limitations in financial accounting. Yes, in financial accounting only we will record which transactions? Quantitative, means which can be measured in the terms of money. Only those transactions we will record in financial accounting. But whereas in the case of cost accounting, it's not like that. In the case of cost accounting, we will record all those transactions which can be measured in the terms of money and which cannot be measured in the terms of money also. Quantitative and qualitative, both the transactions will be recorded in cost accounting. In financial accounting, we are having accounting standards. Now they are calling as a Indian accounting standards. Same way in the cost accounting also, to measure the cost, to measure different technical terms, we are having here cost accounting standards. In the cost accounting we will call them as a CAS, that is called as a cost accounting standards. Okay, so this is the major importance or the need to study the cost accounting. Okay, now let us take one more situation. From that we will start our subject. Okay, now before starting with this subject, first let us see one situation from where the need of cost accounting is being emerged. Then we will study technical terms in the cost accounting. Once again I am saying you, there is a large difference. Why cost accounting? The students will feel it as a hard subject. Mainly one reason. First of all, they will not understand. They will not concentrate on understanding the concepts. In cost accounting, the first thing and the foremost is we have to understand the concept. Later, we have to apply that concept on questions. Suppose in the financial accounting, if you are studying trading format, trading account format, profit and loss account format, balance sheet format, you can see while solving final accounts and all, every question format remains the same, only adjustments will change in financial accounting. But in the cost accounting, question to question itself will change. First question will be different from second will be different from third will be different from fourth. Question to question itself will change. But how, sir? How can we solve that questions? Simple. Based on concept remains the same. Each question to question will change, question pattern will change, but the concept remains the same. A person who will understand the concept in costing, 50% of the costing subject is solved. Another 50% is applications, how we have to apply the subject in cost accounting. That plays a key role. So before starting with the cost accounting chapters, first let us learn some technical terms in cost accounting, then later we can enter into the subject. Okay na? See ma, first and the foremost is cost. First and the foremost is what na? Cost. What do you mean by cost? Someone is asking you, cost accounting. Accounting means we know. Accounting is nothing but what we studied in the PUC level also definition. Accounting is nothing but recording, classifying, posting, summarizing, interpretation of results to the beneficiary users. That we will call it as a accounting definition, right? In the case of accounting, accounting is an art of recording, classifying, posting and summarizing and interpretation of the results and thereon. That is the definition of accounting. Then what do you mean by a cost? A cost is anything. A cost is a expenditure a cost is an expenditure incurred for procurement of raw material or finished goods used for manufacturing of products. What do you mean by a cost? A cost is an expenditure which we are incurring for the procurement of a raw material, or rather it can be a finished good also, for used for manufacturing of products. I will give one example, understand. Example, pen is a finished good, right? What do you mean by finished good? Here in the case of cost accounting, we will study three things. One is raw material, one is work in progress, one is finished good. Okay na? Raw material is nothing but anything which is in raw substance. Finished good is nothing but it's ready for consumption. Work in progress is nothing but neither in the initial stage nor in the final stage. In the middle stage, we will call it as a work in progress. Here pen is a finished good which is ready for usage. Okay, but to manufacture this pen, what is the raw material we required? The raw material we required is plastic, ink, mold, nibs. These are the things which we require, correct? These are the raw materials which we require to manufacture a pen. So these things we will call it as a raw material. We are going to the market, being a manufacturing company. Suppose I have a Flair company. You know Flair pens, right? I have Flair company, Flair pen manufacturing company. To manufacture this Flair pen, I required raw material. What are the raw materials I required? Plastic. I am going to the market to purchase plastic. I am paying money, I am bringing that raw material plastic. That is called as a cost. Here I am incurring some expenditure to bring some raw materials for usage of manufacturing of products. That will call it as a what ma? That will call it as a cost. Here I wrote or finished goods. So what do you mean by finished goods, sir? Why we are using finished goods for manufacturing of a products? Yes. In few situations it happens. In few situations, to manufacture one finished product, we may procure finished goods also. For example, Kia car. Let's take an example of a Kia car. If you are taking an example of a Kia car, only engine and vital spare parts, only engine and vital spare parts will be manufactured by Kia. If you see tires, the tires will be MRF or C8 tires. MRF tires or C8 tires. The tires which we are using for that assembling car, that MRF or C8 is another company. MRF is another company, C8 is another company. Means for MRF tires company, tire is a finished good. But whereas for the Kia car, tire is a raw material only. Tire is a raw material only. That is the reason we are using it in the cost definition or finished goods. Sometimes in few situations it happens. Just now we took the example Kia car like that. Okay na? So this is the definition of a cost. Okay na? Next, what do you mean by cost accounting? What do you mean by cost accounting? A cost accounting is nothing but it begins with the record of income and expenditure and ends with the preparation of cost reports as required by management. So what do you mean by cost accounting, Nana? Cost accounting is nothing but it begins with the record of income and expenditure. From where the cost accounting will begins from? The cost accounting will begins from recording of income and expenditure, and it ends with the preparation of cost reports. So what do you mean by income, sir? Here, what do you mean by income? In cost accounting, what do you mean by income? Once the finished goods are ready for sale, once the finished goods are ready for sale, we will sell them in the market. We will generate certain revenue, that will call it as income here. We will generate some revenue, that will call it as an income. Then what do you mean by expenditure, sir? What do you mean by expenditure? Any amount which we are incurring, either for converting that raw material into finished goods or procurement of raw material. Once the finished goods are ready, advertisement, all these things will come under the expenditure. So in the cost accounting, we will record both income as well as expenditure, and we will end our accounting. How in the case of financial accounting, we will end with the preparation of final accounts. Here also same, we will end our preparation with the cost reports as and when required by the management. So what's as and when required? Here there is no technical period for cost reports like financial accounting. In the case of financial accounting, MNC companies will be releasing their reports, financial results, quarterly, half yearly, annually. Yes. In the case of financial accounting, they will be releasing their reports, financial results, quarterly, half yearly, annually. But whereas in the case of cost accounting, there is no such technical period. Generally, the cost reports are prepared by the cost accountant as and when required by the management. If management says, I required cost report by end of the day, yes, it is prepared by end of the day. If they are giving a time period within 1 week, yes, it is prepared within a period of 1 week. There is no such technical period. Generally, cost reports are prepared when and where it is required by the management. That's all. Okay, now this is the definition of cost accounting. Then let us learn, there are certain technical terms in the cost accounting. So what do you mean by these technical terms? We understood the definition of cost. and we understood the definition cost accounting also, how there is a financial accounting. We understood cost accounting definition now. Now, what do you mean by technical terms? Once after completion of your 10th standard, when you are entering into the 11th standard, after completion of 10th, when you are entering into the 11th standard, before writing the journal entries, you used to study certain technical terms. Your teachers used to teach certain technical terms like debitor, that is nothing but debtor, creditor, capital, drawings. Those are the technical terms you used to learn in the accounts. Without learning the technical terms, without knowing the meaning, can you record a journal entry? Can you form a journal entry? It's not possible. Why? Because without knowing the technical meaning of those definitions, you cannot go further. You cannot go further. Same way in the case of cost accounting also, there are certain technical terms which we should learn. Without learning those technical terms, we cannot go further. Okay na? So let us discuss those technical terms first. Let us see the topic Nana. Important cost accounting terms. So before entering into the subject cost accounting, first of all we have to learn the cost accounting terms. Just now already we discussed the definition of cost Nana. Same thing will be there in this also. A cost is defined as a what Nana? It is defined as the expenditure incurred, either actual or notional. You will be using the word actual or notional. Actual means what we are incurring. Real means you are going to a shop to purchase a pen and you are paying 10 rupees. That is called actual. What do you mean by notional? If the stationery shop belongs to your friend, you will bring the pen at free of cost. That is called as a notional. Why? Because he is your friend. That's the reason you are not paying him money. Or an attributable to a given product or a service. Generally here cost is incurred not only for products, sometimes also for services also. It can be described as a resource that have been sacrificed or must be sacrificed to attain a particular objective. Here particular objective is what? Each and every person objective will be to produce a finished goods. That will be the major objective of each and every business organization. Why? Because they will produce finished goods and they will sell those finished goods in the markets. Another one more, 2, 3, 5, 6 definitions they will not require. Learn one single definition, that is quite more enough for examination purpose. In the examination they will never ask these definitions and all. It's a very rare situation. For 10 to 15 attempts, once they will ask this technical definition. That too they will ask 4 marks. Each technical definition they will ask for 1 mark. Whether we have to learn all these definitions, for in the 11th, 12th standard we learned all these definitions. Whether we have to learn in the CMA Inter level also, the answer is no. Whatever the definitions you have to learn when the situation arises, I will tell you. Only you have to understand. That's all. Next, you can see here the cost. This cost can be classified either as a historical cost or economic cost. They give 2 types. Here he has classified that cost into 2 types. One is historical, one is economical. So what do you mean by historical and what do you mean by economical? Let's see. Historical cost. It is a factual cost incurred for production of goods or services encompassing direct material cost, direct labor cost, manufacturing overhead cost. It emphasizes the retrospective nature of the cost, reflecting the real expenditure made in the past to produce a particular unit of output. Simple Nana. Historical cost is nothing but the cost which is already incurred in the past. In a simple word we can say, instead of this complete definition we can say historical cost is a cost which is incurred in the past and it is not relevant for present decision making purposes. It is not relevant for present making decision purposes. Example I will give you, you can see here. Whiteboard. In the case of educational institutions, if you are saying an example, in the case of educational institutions, whiteboard is nothing but a historical cost. Whiteboard is nothing but the board which I purchased a longer period ago. I purchased it like 1 year ago. I purchased this whiteboard 1 year ago. I purchased this whiteboard. So the cost which is incurred in the past and it does not relevant for present decision making purposes. I purchased this whiteboard for teaching to the students in the class. But due to corona, what happened? Due to corona, now the offline classes were shut down and the online classes has come up. Whether I can use this whiteboard now? I cannot use this whiteboard. Depending upon the present situation, again I have to upgrade to some iPad, or otherwise I have to take some digital board. I have to purchase one digital board. That is the reason historical cost means what? Simple definition. It is a cost which is incurred in the past and it is not relevant for present decision making purposes. For present decision making purpose, it won't be useful. Those kind of cost we will call it as a which cost? Nana? Historical cost. Example, just now I told you whiteboard. During the corona time, every classes were off, means no offline classes are there, online only. In the case of online classes, we cannot use that whiteboard. Again, we have to purchase some Zoom, we have to purchase some iPads, we have to purchase some pencil for writing and for teaching purposes like that. Next, now. Out of pocket cost. What do you mean by out of pocket? Out of pocket, the word itself, the meaning is there. Something which is going out of from our pocket. Something which is going out from our pocket. That is called as a out of pocket cost. Simple. You can see the definition. This refers to the actual expenditures or payments made by an individual or a business for goods or services or resources. That's all. You are purchasing some resources. You are taking some services from person. For that purpose, you are making payment to that person. In that case, the payment whatever we are making, the money is going outside from our business. That is the reason we will call it as a what cost? Out of pocket cost. Technical definition, that's all. Next, Nana. Economic cost. This is also referred as opportunity cost here. In the cost accounting, many nicknames will be there, Nana. In the cost accounting, there will be many nicknames. How a person will have a nickname. Same way in the cost accounting also, for one definition, there will be so many nicknames. Example, fixed cost. In some places, we will call it as a period cost. In some places, we will call it as a standby cost. In some places, we will call it as a static cost. Like that, depending upon the situation, the names will change, but the meaning is same. Here also same. Economic cost is also known as opportunity cost. So what do you mean by an opportunity cost? What do you mean by an opportunity cost? Simple. We'll take one example. So many places opportunity cost will arise. Listen carefully now. In the foundation level, you might have studied opportunity cost. I think you might have studied in the economic subject. In the economic subjects, you will be having the demand and supply. In the economics, there will be demand and supply. In the demand and supply, you might have studied this opportunity cost. Okay, now same way, let us also see here in the CMA Inter level, little bit in depth will be there. Same definition, but little bit in depth will be there. Simple words we can say opportunity cost is nothing but choosing the best alternative from the available resources. Sacrificed by the organization. Choosing the best alternative from the available resources sacrificed by the organization. We can call it as an opportunity cost. Opportunity is nothing but from the available resources we have to choose one best alternative. For choosing that best alternative, what we are sacrificing. To choose that best alternative, what we are sacrificing. The things which we are sacrificing here, that we will call it as a opportunity cost. It's a very important concept, Nana. Okay, now let's take one example. After qualifying your CMA, there are 4 options in front of you. Okay, now after qualifying CMA, there are how many options in front of you? 4 options. The first option is job, second option is practice, third option is business, Fourth option is teaching. First option is job, second option is practice, third option is business, fourth option is teaching. By doing job, you will get 20 lakhs per annum. By doing practice, you will get 15 lakhs per annum. By doing business, you will get 30 lakhs per annum. By teaching, you will get 10 lakhs per annum. So these are the four options in front of you after qualifying CMA. Okay na? So after qualifying CMA, there are four options. A person cannot choose four options na. He has to choose any one option out of these four. Any one option out of these four. Suppose I am choosing business as my option. I am choosing a business as my option. Why? Because it is having the highest income. That is the reason I am choosing business as my option. 30 lakhs per annum. Then what do you mean by opportunity cost, sir? What do you mean by opportunity cost? For choosing this best alternative business, the next best alternative what I am sacrificing here? The next best alternative I am sacrificing here is called job. This job is called opportunity cost. This job is called as opportunity cost. What is the opportunity cost here? 20 lakhs. Why? Because by choosing business as my option, I am losing the next best alternative. What is the next best alternative I am losing here? Job. That is the reason this is called as opportunity cost. Okay, now let's take, this is the foundation level knowledge which you have. This is the foundation level knowledge which you have. Now I am going to upgrade this knowledge. See here. How, sir? Now it's our option, right? It's our personal opinion to which one we have to select. After CMA qualifying, one person he is saying that he is ready to select a job. He don't want to go for practice. He don't want to go for business. He want to go for job. So if he is going for a job, how much he is getting? 20 lakhs per annum. Now what he is sacrificing? What is the next best alternative he is sacrificing? The next best alternative he is sacrificing is nothing but business. This is called as opportunity cost. Foundation level knowledge, you people will think after job what is the next best alternative? Practice. You will think practice is opportunity cost. The answer is wrong. The answer is wrong. What is the opportunity cost? The next best alternative which you are sacrificing. If you are going for a job, you are getting 20 lakhs only. But if you are going for a business, you are getting 30 lakhs. Yes, obviously comparing to 20-30 is a best opportunity only. That is the reason here opportunity cost means the next best alternative which we are sacrificing. That is called as opportunity cost. Suppose if you are going for practice now. If you are going for practice now, what is the next best alternative you are sacrificing? Business only, obviously. That will become your opportunity cost. If you are going for teaching, you are getting 10 lakhs. What is the next best alternative you are sacrificing? Business. That is called as your opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means anything which you are sacrificing, the next best alternative which we are sacrificing, that we will call it as a opportunity cost. Okay, so this is the definition of opportunity cost. This is the concept of opportunity cost. That's what I told you. In the foundation level, you will think after 20, you will think 15. If a person is going for 15 means after 15 you will think 10. That is a wrong concept. That is a wrong concept. Okay, na? So this is the correct one, opportunity cost. Next, sunk cost. The next definition which we have here is what, Nana? Sunk cost. The cost that has been irreversibly incurred or committed and cannot therefore be considered relevant to a decision. Sunk cost may also be termed as irrecoverable cost. Simple. I will tell you one example. This is also very, very important, Nana. Relevanta, not relevanta. In MCQ questions in the examination, they will ask you which cost is relevant for decision making purpose, which cost is not relevant for decision making purpose. Okay, na? Economic cost is relevant, Nana. I am writing here. Economic cost is relevant for decision making purpose. Historical cost irrelevant or not relevant, Nana. It is not relevant for decision making purpose. Next, sunk cost. Sunk cost is a cost which cannot be recoverable or irreversible. Simple example I will tell you. You know Titanic ship. You know Titanic ship? The Titanic ship has been sunk in the water. Many people died also. Now, if the company is sitting at present situation in the present 2024, the Titanic company is sitting and thinking about the situation. Titanic ship, we should not have gone in this way. We should have gone in this way. We should not carried this many passengers. We should have carried this many passengers only. We should have used our advanced technologies for identifying that ice glares. All these kind of things, if they are sitting and thinking now, is there any use? There is no use. Why? Because Titanic is a situation which has happened 100 years ago, almost 60 to 100 years ago. That is a situation, not today's situation. That is a situation which has happened like 60 to 100 years ago. It's a very old situation which happened. Thinking about that situation, we can't do anything. We can't bring back anything. Those kind of cost, we'll call it as a sunk cost. The cost which is already incurred, but we don't have any relevancy for present decision making purpose. Those kind of cost, we'll call it as a which cost, Nana? Sunk cost. Sunk cost is not relevant, Nana. It is irrelevant. It is irrelevant for decision making purposes. Definitely the expected MCQ question, definition though they won't ask. What do you mean by sunk cost? It's a very rare cases. It's like 15-20 years ago they used to ask this definitions for 1 mark. But nowadays he is not asking definition. He is asking the concept. He is testing the concept, which is relevant, which is irrelevant. Why it is irrelevant? Because there is no use. The cost which is already incurred, we cannot reverse it back. We cannot reverse it back. It's irreversible in nature. Sunk cost is irreversible in nature. That is the reason it's irrelevant for decision making purposes. Next now. Imputed cost. So what do you mean by imputed cost, sir? Let's see. Imputed cost are hypothetical or notional cost not involving cash outlay, computed only for the purpose of decision making. Simple now. Listen, imputed cost. Imputed cost are the hypothetical or notional cost. Generally, in the case of ICMA material, Nana, they won't give easy language. They'll give PhD language and all. Okay, na? They'll be using a lot of technical terms and they'll be giving a PhD language. We have to decode that PhD language and we have to understand it easily. Okay, na? Imputed cost are the hypothetical or notional cost, do not involve any cash outlay. So, what do you mean by cash outlay, sir? Cash is not going outside. Cash outlay, do not involve cash outlay. Means what is the meaning of this sentence, sir? Do not involve cash outlay means cash is not going outside the business. That is called do not involve cash outlay. Okay, now let's take one example. There is a one HDFC bank. Try to understand what I am saying. There is a one HDFC bank. XYZ business is there. They opened one current account. There is XYZ business. That XYZ business has opened a current account in HDFC bank. Okay, now in this current account, ₹10 crores balance is there. In this current account, how much balance is there? 10 crores balance is there. On this 10 crores, whether the HDFC bank, listen carefully what I am asking, on this 10 crores which is there in the current account, whether this HDFC bank is going to pay interest or not. The answer is no. On current account, only on savings account the banks will pay interest. We studied that also. On current account, the banks will not pay any interest. Now, being a cost accountant, what is our decision? What is our thinking? We will say this 10 crores balance which is there in the current account is idle. Idle means we are not using for any purpose. Instead of keeping this 10 crores balance in current account, if you make a fixed deposit, make a FD for 10 crores, at least it will generate 7% interest per annum. This interest 7 crores on the 7 crores 10% on 10 crores 7% is nothing but how many lakhs, Nana? Minimum, that is nothing but 70 lakhs. How much is the interest, Nana? 70 lakhs. This 70 lakhs whatever we are losing here, this 70 lakhs whatever we are losing here, that is called as imputed cost. The interest whatever we are losing here, that we will call it as a which cost, Nana? Imputed cost. Because this 10 crores is there in the current account. This 10 crores is there in the current account. On the current account, banks will not pay any interest. Anyway, it is idle. Being a cost account, what we are saying, we are advising the management to divert the funds from current account and to deposit FD for 10 crores. At least it will generate a interest income. This is called as a which cost, Nana? Imputed cost. But business will do that? No. Why? Because generally will maintain a current account balance for business purpose, business rotation, business working capital purpose. That is the reason we will not use that funds. That is called as a which cost, Nana? Imputed cost. Whether the imputed costs are relevant or not relevant for decision making purposes? Yes, it is relevant. It is relevant. Why? Because for doing business, a cost accountant has to suggest how much turnover is there, how much we required for working capital. A chartered accountant will tell that. A chartered accountant will say, cost accountant will provide the information. A chartered accountant will advise how much amount we should maintain, 1 crore or 2 crore or 3 crore or 5 crores, how much we should maintain as a balance. And remaining can be used for some other business purpose and we can generate some additional income. So imputed costs are relevant. Imputed costs are relevant for decision making purposes. Imputed costs are what, Nana? It is relevant for decision making purposes. Next, Nana. Relevant cost. What do you mean by relevant cost, Nana? Relevant cost are the cost which are relevant for specific purpose or specific situation. In the context of decision making, only those costs will call it as a relevant cost. Relevant cost is nothing but imputed cost. Imputed cost is a relevant cost. Opportunity cost is a relevant cost. All these kind of things. Means any cost which is relevant for decision making purposes, those costs will call it as a relevant cost. Next. Avoidable cost, unavoidable cost. Simple. Any cost which we can avoid, by taking certain decisions, those kind of cost will call it as a avoidable cost. Unavoidable cost. Unavoidable means what? By taking any precautions, we cannot avoid such cost. We cannot avoid such cost. That is called as a unavoidable cost. Simple one example, sir. Can you give one example for avoidable cost? Can you give one example for unavoidable cost, sir? Simple. We can take one example for avoidable cost. Suppose a business organization is there. There are 10 employees working in the organization. Whenever the work is there in the organization, at a time only maximum 6 employees can work. At a time maximum how many employees can work? 6 employees can work at a time. Remaining 4 people, they have to sit idle only. They cannot. Maximum is 6 employees they can work. But at present how many employees are there? 10. But at a time whenever the work is there, maximum how many people can work? 6 only. Means remaining 4 is sitting idle. That remaining 4, what we can do? We can remove them. That is called as the avoidable cost. MNC corporate companies, what they will do? Whenever there is no project, they will move the employees on the bench. Whenever the project is completed, they will move the employees into the bench. You will be listening, your brothers or sisters or some relevant friend, some of your friends, they will be talking, they will be using these words. I am on bench now. I am on bench. What do you mean by bench means? When the project is finished, the person will be moved out of the project. he will be sitting on that bench. That bench, whenever the person who is sitting on the bench, if he is not getting another project within 3 months, he will be removed from the job. Why? Because he is no use for the organization. He is no use for the business organization. That we will call it as a avoidable cost. What do you mean by unavoidable cost? What do you mean by unavoidable cost? Simple example that also we can take. Suppose one educational institution is there. One educational institution is there. In that educational institution, 10 students can sit in the classroom. In that educational institution, how many students can sit? 10 students can sit in the classroom. There is a 2 tube lights and one fan, one ceiling fan is there in that classroom. Only one student is attending the class. Only one student is attending the class. Still, we have to switch on the lights. Still, we have to switch on the ceiling fan. Whether you can avoid that cost. Without light, we cannot focus in the class. Nothing will be visible. Without fan, in a closed environment, a person cannot sit for a longer period of time. Definitely, we have to incur this expenditure. Means here, 10 students, for 10 students, the two lights and one ceiling fan. But only one student is there. But still, we have to use. That kind of cost, we'll call it as an unavoidable cost. Means whatever the precautions you take, still you cannot avoid that cost. Still those costs will call it as an unavoidable cost. The another name in another situation for unavoidable cost, will call it as a fixed cost. Another name for unavoidable cost is nothing but fixed cost also we can say. So what do you mean by fixed cost? We'll discuss further, it will come. Next, controllable cost and non-controllable cost. So what do you mean by controllable cost, sir? And what do you mean by non-controllable cost? There are two situations. One is internal, another one is external. One is internal, another one is external. Any internal situations can be controlled by the business organization. Any external situations can be non-controllable by the business organization. Any internal situation can be controlled by the business organization. Any external situation cannot be controlled. Examples, sir. Suppose for construction purpose we are using steel. Can you control the steel price in the market? You want to purchase steel in the market. Can you control the steel price? We cannot. You want iron. Can you control the iron price? We cannot. We require sand. Can you control the sand price? We require cement. Can you control the cement price? We cannot control all these things. Those kind of things we'll call it as a external, non-controllable cost. Price will comes under non-controllable. Price is anything which we cannot control in the market. You require tomato for making curry. Can you control the tomato price? You require atta for making chapatis or any pulkas and all. Can you control that atta price? We cannot. The things which we cannot control or which is not in our hands, that we will call it as a non-controllable cost. Before the government tax rate is 5%, now they made it as a 18%. Can you control the tax rates? No, all these things will call it as a non-controllable cost. Then what do you mean by controllable cost, sir? Controllable is nothing but internal things, these all are, which we can take a control. Suppose daily employees has to come at 9 a.m. but a lot of because of a lack of discipline in the organization, disciplined environment in the organization, one person is coming at 9:10, one person is coming at 9:30, one person is coming at 10, one person is coming at 10:45, like that. Each and every person are coming in their own timings. Each and every person are coming in their own timings. Then in that case, what we have to do? In that case, compulsory we have to appoint one accountable person. Whoever they are coming late, we have to deduct their salaries. That is called a disciplined working environment. That is called as a disciplined working environment that we can control. Next, material usage. One is material usage. Material usage means what here? The raw material. Suppose you completed your CMA Inter, you joined as a articleship trainee in a one CMA firm. Your boss has informed you that please take the printouts from the printer and make a one report. One print you have to take vertical, one print you have to take horizontal, one print you have to take with border, one print we have to take without border, one print we have to take with the logo, one print we have to take without logo, like the different situations are there to make that report. You are very new into that environment. Before, you are never exposed to that printing stationery environment. Then in that case, what happens? In the initial days, you will take A4 sheets and you will try. You will see this option. If you are clicking this option, how the print is coming out. If you are clicking that option, how the print is coming out. So like this, you will check. Correct. So we will waste a lot of papers by doing that process. Still, you are not able to learn. You are keep on wasting. Then if that is the case, your boss will come and he will teach you how to take a report, how to take a printout, this horizontally, vertically, with logo, without logo, all these things he will teach you. That is called usage, controllable thing, controllable cost, which we can control in our hands. These kind of cost, we call it as a which cost? Nana? Controllable cost. Next definitions Nana we have is cost object. What do you mean by cost object, sir? A cost object is any item for which cost measurement is required. Any object for which a cost measurement is required, that we'll call it as a what? Cost object. Example, sir. A product we can take. Pen is a product. Pencil is a product. Water bottle is a product. Keypad is a product. Mouse is a product, like this. All those things we'll call it as a what? Cost object. A service to a hotel guest. Suppose we are having a hotel, a guest has visited our hotel, he is asking for a fried rice, he is asking for an idli, he is asking for a dosa. All these things also comes under cost object. Next, cost unit. What do you mean by cost unit, Nana? A cost unit is a device for the purpose of breaking up or separating the cost into smaller subdivisions attributable to the product or service. That we will call it as a what, Nana? Cost unit. Cost unit is nothing but breaking down the object into small pieces, like share capital, share capital, share. Share is nothing but a share is indicating you are dividing the whole share capital into small pieces. That small piece is called as a share. Here in the case of cost unit also, to measure a cost, we are breaking the cost into small separate pieces. That we will call it as a cost unit. Example, if you are booking Uber, how they will measure? Per kilometer. This per kilometer is nothing but what? Cost unit. No, you are taking public transport. You are not taking Uber private. Uber is private. You are taking public transport like bus. You are taking BMTC bus. In that case, how they will measure? Per passenger kilometer. Per passenger kilometer. So what do you mean by this passenger kilometer, sir? What do you mean by this passenger kilometer? What do you mean by per kilometer? Uber is a private transportation. You are traveling. Whatever the distance you are traveling, means he will not ask how many number of people you are taking. Like suppose there are 4 members in a family. These 4 members in a family together are traveling in a car. How many members are traveling? That question he will not ask. Okay, if single person is traveling, 4 persons are traveling, 3 persons are traveling, 2 persons are traveling, he won't charge on passenger basis. He will charge on per kilometer. He will ask, what is your destination? What is your pickup point? What is your destination? So pickup point to destination, how many number of kilometers? 100 kilometers. Per kilometer, 10 rupees. 100 into 10, 1000 rupees. That's all. That is called per kilometer. That is a private transportation. That is called simple cost unit. This per kilometer, whatever it is there, this we will call it as a simple cost units. Those cost units will call it as a what, Nana? Simple cost units. Then if you are taking a public transportation, in the case of public transportation, passenger matters. Passenger matters. That is the reason how they will measure per passenger kilometer. This we will call it as a composite cost unit. This will call it as a what, Nana? Composite cost unit. So what do you mean by composite cost unit, sir? While measuring a cost, if 2 or more components are involved, two or more components are involved, then we will call it as a what, Nana? Composite cost unit. So what do you mean by per passenger kilometer? What is the difference between per kilometer, per passenger kilometer? Per passenger kilometer means, what is the meaning here? If a passenger is traveling to a distance of 1 kilometer, then what is the fare we are charging? That is called as a passenger kilometer. Per passenger kilometer means for one passenger traveling a distance of 1 kilometer, what is the fare we are charging? That is called per passenger kilometer. That is called as a what, Nana? Composite cost unit. Hospital. In the case of hospital, patient day. Patient is a 1 unit, days is a 1 unit. Sir, how come patient is a day? Yes. In the case of patient, there are two types. One is IP patient, one is OP patient. IP patient, OP patient. Did you hear the word IP, OP? When you are visiting the hospitals, he will ask you in the reception the word IP or OP, sir. IP means you are going for some surgery, you are going to admit into the hospital, you are going for some operation and you are going to admit into the hospital. That is called inpatient. That is called inpatient. IP means. OP means what? Outpatient. You have fever, you have cold, you have fever, you will go and admit into the hospital. You have viral fever, you will go and admit into the hospital. The answer is no. We will visit the hospital. We will visit into the hospital. We will visit the doctor. Doctor will guide us. Doctor will give us some medicines. We will take that medicines and we will go to our home. Right? We will take that medicines and we will go to our home. That is called IP, OP patient. Patient is a one cost unit. Day. Per day, because when a patient is being admitted into the hospital, there are different types of services, like general ward will be there, deluxe rooms will be there, super deluxe rooms will be there, two sharing will be there, one sharing will be there, with AC will be there, without AC will be there, rolling bed will be there, without rolling bed will be there. There will be a lot of things will be involved. Patient is a 1 unit, day is a 1 unit. So how many patients, how many number of days? If one patient, the patient day means if what is the fare we are charging, what is the fare we are charging for one patient for 1 day, that is called as a patient day. Tonnage kilometers. Tonnage kilometers we will use for this transportation of goods. When we are transporting the goods, we will use this tonnage kilometer. Tonnage kilometer means if you are carrying 1 ton goods up to a distance of 1 kilometer, what is the fare we have to charge? That we will call it as a tonnage kilometer. Tonnage is a 1 unit and kilometer is a 1 unit here. The both together will call it as a composite cost unit. So if you are carrying 1 ton goods up to a distance of 1 kilometer, that we will call it as a tonnage kilometers. That we will call it as a which cost unit? Composite cost unit. Next, cost center. So what do you mean by cost center, sir? It's very simple. What do you mean by examination center? What do you mean by examination center? It is a place where a group of students will go and write the exam, right? Where exam will be conducted, where the exam will be conducted for a group of students. That will call it as examination center. Same way, a cost center is a place where a cost is incurred. It is responsible for the incurrence of cost. It is a place where it is responsible for the incurrence of cost. That we will call it as a cost center. Cost center can be anything. Cost center can be anything. It can be a branch. It can be a branch. It can be a department. It can be a location. It can be a state, it can be a country, it can be a machinery, it can be a gang, like that, etc. It can be anything. A cost center can be anything. Basically, what is the role or responsibility? It is incurrence. It is responsible for the incurrence of cost. That will call it as a cost center. Suppose, let's take Ramesh Academy. Ramesh Academy is having 6 branches in Bangalore. Let us assume there is Ramesh Academy is having 6 branches in Bangalore. Like Jayanagar is the main head office. Jayanagar branch is treated as a cost center. Again in Koramangala also there is a one academy, Ramesh Academy. Then Koramangala branch itself is treated as a cost center, like that. Okay, now a cost center can be anything. It can be a branch, it can be a department, it can be a location. Location means what? Bangalore. Ramesh Academy is located in Bangalore. That is one cost center. Ramesh Academy is located in Hyderabad. That is one cost center. Ramesh Academy is located in Pune. Pune is one cost center, like that. Okay. Next, Nana. production cost center, service cost center. Basically, production cost center is responsible for producing the goods. Under this production cost center, they will convert these raw materials into finished goods. Whereas in the case of service center is a support to the production center. Service center will be acting as a support. A service center will be acting as an auxiliary support to the production center. Production center, they will convert raw material into finished goods. To convert a raw material into finished goods, they require power. Power who will be supplying? Service department. We require labor. Labor who will be supplying? Service department. Like that. Okay na? Next. Responsibility center. Okay na? Under this responsibility center, we are having different types of, there are usually 4 types of responsibility center which are identified. This they asked as a theory question in 2015, I guess, 4 marks. In 2015, they asked this question for 4 marks. Types of responsibility centers. Types of responsibility center, there are 4 types. One is cost center. Basically, just now I discussed cost center. It is a center which is responsible for the incurrence of cost. Profit center. Profit center is basically responsible for generating the profits in the organization by doing business. By doing business, it is responsible for generating the profits. How they can generate the profits? Simple. Revenue minus cost. From the revenue, we have to minus the cost. Then the resultant figure, will call it as a profit. Third one is a revenue center. This center is primarily responsible for generating the revenue for the business organization. By selling the goods to the customers, this center is responsible for generating revenue for the business organization. That will call it as a revenue center. Like examples are cost center. If you take an example of a Reliance Mukesh Ambani, he is sitting somewhere in Mumbai. If you are seeing Reliance stores, there are a lot of different types of Reliance stores. Reliance Fresh is there, Reliance Smart Point is there, or Reliance Trends like dresses, like the different centers are there. Those centers will call it as a cost center as well as profit center as well as revenue center. Okay na? In the Reliance Trends, they won't manufacture anything. So basically, it is not a cost center. In Bangalore is not a cost center. In Mumbai, somewhere they will manufacture, Mumbai or Gujarat, Surat, somewhere they will manufacture the dresses. And after manufacturing, they will transfer those dresses to this Bangalore unit. This Bangalore unit is responsible only for generating revenue. They have to sell those dresses to the customers and they will generate revenue. That is called as a revenue center. In Surat, manufacturing plant is there for Reliance. That is called cost center. Why? Because they won't sell, only they will manufacture. Only they will manufacture. Profit center means here in this Bangalore, they have to sell and they have to generate revenue and they have to incur some cost. From that minusing cost, we will get profits. That is called as a profit center. Next, investment center. Investment center. Investment center is nothing but it is responsible. In some places, the organization is responsible for investing in which place we have to invest, in which project we have to invest, in which machinery we have to invest. All these things will come under the investment center. So these are the 4 different types of responsibility centers which we have. Okay now. Cost of production. Soon we will discuss this. What do we mean by cost of production? Soon we will discuss this. So simple terminology, if you say cost of production, means all the cost incurred. All cost incurred for production of finished goods. All the cost incurred for the production of finished goods, that we can call it as a cost of production. We will study this technically also, cost of production. In the cost sheet, we will study this. What do you mean by cost of production? Soon we will study this. Next, conversion cost. What do you mean by conversion cost, sir? This is important, you have to understand. The cost other than material, which is incurred for converting a raw material into finished goods, that we will call it as a conversion cost. The cost which is incurred other than raw material, that we will call it as a conversion cost. Technically, conversion cost is it's a very good, they will be asking in the exam also, MCQ question, very very important. From the prime cost, if you minus direct materials consumed, from the prime cost if you minus direct materials consumed, then we'll call it as a which cost? A conversion cost. Remember this also we'll discuss. What do you mean by prime cost, sir? Again we'll discuss this in the cost sheet. Conversion cost is basically other than raw material. Definition meaning other than raw material, the cost which we are incurring to convert a raw material into finished goods, that we'll call it as a conversion cost. The technical formula is this: prime cost minus the direct materials consumed. Next, what do you mean by overhead cost? This also we are soon going to discuss. This also will come, Nana. In the cost sheet we will study this also, overheads. Again, overheads is divided into production, administrative, distribution, selling, marketing. What are all these things? We'll study in the cost sheet. Now in depth we will study. All these things we'll study in depth in the cost sheet. Next upcoming topics is that only. Next one is cost accounting standards. Cost accounting standards, we have a separate chapter. There we will study about cost accounting standards, Nana. Okay, na? Next technical term which we have here is cost allocation, cost apportionment. When we will call it as a cost allocation, when we will call it as a cost apportionment. Simple. When any expense which is in identifiable stage, any expense which can be identified directly, then we'll call it as a allocation. Any expense can be identified directly. Any expense which can be identified directly, that we'll call it as a what, Nana? Allocation. Any expense which cannot be identified directly, that will call it as a cost apportionment. I know you did not understood the meaning. What do you mean by identification directly? What do you mean by cannot be identified directly? Let's take one example, you will understand. Okay, na? Let us take one building. In this building there is a ground floor, there is a first floor and there is a second floor. Okay, na? This building is nothing but Big Bazaar. You know Big Bazaar, right? Now there is no Big Bazaar in the markets. Big Bazaar already, it has been sold out now. It has been sold out to Reliance. But before we used to have Big Bazaar, right? So let's remember this Big Bazaar now. So there is a one building, Nana. In this building there is a ground floor, there is a first floor and there is a second floor. Okay, na? In the ground floor there are 10 employees. In the first floor there are 20 employees. In the second floor there are 40 employees. Okay, na? In the ground floor there are how many employees? 10 employees. In the first floor how many employees are there? 20 employees. In the second floor how many employees are there? 40 employees. Okay, na? Suppose we are paying a salary of ₹1000 per month per employee. Okay, na? We are paying a salary of how much, Nana? 1000 per month per employee. We are paying a salary of 1000 rupees per month, Nana, per employee. Okay, for one employee how much we are paying, Nana? Salary 1000 rupees per month per employee we are paying. Okay na? So in the ground floor, how many employees are working? 10 employees. Means we can calculate directly. We require something base. We can calculate directly, right? Because we know the count. We know the count of employees. In the ground floor, how many employees are there? 10. How much we are paying for one person? 1000 rupees. Means what will be the salaries here? 10,000. Here 20,000. Here 40,000. Means we can calculate directly right here. We can calculate the salaries directly, right? Why? Because it is clearly identifiable. Here it is clearly identifiable in which floor or in which department how many number of employees are working. In the ground floor, there are how many number of employees working? 10 employees. In the first floor, how many number of employees are working? 20 employees. In the second floor, how many employees are working? 40 employees. So that is nothing but we can calculate a salary directly. Okay. Now let's take another one more example. The rent. The rent which we are paying for this building is 1 lakh per month. The rent which we are paying for this building is how much, Nana? 1 lakh rupees per month we are paying rent. Can you say for ground floor is how much? First floor is how much? Second floor is how much? What is the rent? The rent which we are paying for the whole building is 1 lakh per month. Can you say how much is the rent we have to calculate for ground floor, first floor, second floor? Can you? We cannot identify. We cannot identify directly. Here, to apportion this rent 1 lakh, to distribute this rent 1 lakh to between ground, first and second, we require some base. We require some base. The base which we will use here is area occupied. The base which we are using here is what, Nana? Area occupied. Suppose I am giving information like this. Ground floor is 300 square feet. First floor is 600 square feet. Second floor is 100 square feet. Now, can you calculate the rent? Can you calculate the rent for this building? Yes, obviously we can calculate. Why? We have the area occupied with us. So, what is the rent? For the ground floor, 1 lakh into, what is the area occupied? 300, right? 300 divided by total, 600 plus 300, 900 plus 100,000. That is nothing but ground floor is 30,000. First floor is 60,000. Second floor is 10,000. Correct. Now we can calculate the rent for this building. Ground floor is how much? 30,000. First floor is 60,000. Second floor is 10,000. Now what is called allocations are anything which can be identified directly. Any expense which can be identified directly, that is called as allocation. So this is called as allocation. Then what do you mean by apportionments are anything which we cannot identify. Anything which we cannot identify directly, that we'll call it as apportionment. So this is called as apportionment. This is called as what, Nana? Apportionment. This is called as what, Nana? Allocation. So this is the difference between the definitions of allocation and apportion. This is the clear-cut example which can be identified directly, which cannot be identified directly. Anything which cannot be identified directly, compulsory we require a base to apportion that. We require some base. What is the base we are using here? Area occupied. That is called as apportionment. Okay na? Next definition we have is cost absorption. What do you mean by cost absorption? In costing, we'll be using this word absorption. We'll be using the word absorption. So what do you mean by the word absorption, sir? What do you mean by the word absorption? If you are recovering the cost on some another element, if you are recovering a cost of one element, if you are recovering a cost of one element on other element, that we will call it as absorption. That will call it as a absorption. Okay, na? Means simple example I will say you. In the case of cost accounting, for calculating indirect expenses, what do you mean by indirect expenses, sir? Again we'll discuss in depth, Nana. Otherwise we'll discuss at that point of time only. What is this cost absorption, under or over absorption? We will study these two topics, sir. There is a chapter called as overheads. There is a chapter called as overheads. In this overheads chapter, we'll discussing these words in depth, Nana. What do you mean by cost absorption? What do you mean by under absorption? What do you mean by over absorption of overheads? Okay. So these are the technical terms which is used in this chapter, Nana. They gave an example for absorption here, but you will not understand in the beginning of the classes what is the meaning or how they calculated. All these calculations you will not understand, Nana. So this is not the correct time to discuss this question. That is the reason I am not discussing. But in the overheads chapter, we will discuss in depth, complete chapter we have. What is absorption of overheads? What is under absorption? What is over absorption? What is the cost accounting treatment for under absorption? What is the cost accounting treatment for over absorption? All those things we have. So this is not the perfect time for discussing this question. That is the reason I am not discussing this illustration number 1. Again, we'll come back to this illustration once after the completion of the chapter overheads, Nana. Okay, na? So this is about the technical terms which are involved in this topic number 1.2, Nana. So go through these technical terms and go through the examples. Here the most important thing in cost accounting is examples. You have to remember a lot. Examples you have to remember a lot. If you remember the example, you will understand whether it's relevant or irrelevant. Like sunk cost, we discussed a Titanic ship, correct? So that is nothing but irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Opportunity cost, we discussed the CMA qualified. It's irrelevant. Like that. So what is irrelevant? What is relevant? This is most important MCQ question. Frequently keep on asking in the examinations, Nana. So these are the technical terms which you have to go through. Okay, na? Please go through. If there is any doubts, you can come back to me at any point of time.